not sure who that was quite yet, but I do know it's a four-door Crown 62. Okay. Yeah, please ignore the little green slash in the upper left-hand corner. That's the elderly video camera doing trouble. So here's a shot of the rear end of that 62.
Well, one thing I have to say is there were certainly lots of parking spaces, so no one really had trouble finding a place to park.
Mm-hmm. Boy, what a car. There's Tom with his car again.
Aren't you going to talk about the silver car, the color, and
oh, sure,
remember
okay.
You forgot to tell us about the car.
No, I'll have to do that. This particular car was owned by Walt von Deppen originally, and back when he owned it, then had the Buena Park Imperial meet. Boy, look at that back window. What a beautiful design. Anyways, so then there were two 1960 Imperial LeBaron four-door sedans, silver with the gray broadcloth interior with the swivel bucket seats. And it was funny because Walt and the other gentleman who owned the two different cars were competing for an award, so that these two identical cars with these two gentlemen standing across from each other, hissing at each other, saying, "My car at least has the original paint. Yes, but mine is the proper interior." So, you know, it was very, very funny to see them compete with each other.
Oh, this is that's Carol and Dave Smith looking and talking to Tom, and they also have a beautiful car, and we'll probably see their car later.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this one here is a 64 or 65. What looks to be a Crown Coupe. Yes. Very nice one, as a matter of fact. Be able to tell if I could see the front.
That's Frank Piffinger from San Jose, and in his 1969 LeBaron four-door. And he was also a feature speaker because he is quite an authority on the Imperials. So he's always excited about Imperials, and he has certainly contributed a lot to the Northern California Imperial Club. His wife is the editor of the newsletter, Myrna.
Yeah, this is a 69 four-door, and this was the first year of what they called fuselage styling. And it was a very beautiful design. The problem was that the design was almost identical to the 1969 Plymouth. So a lot of the reviewers of the cars in that year were very upset that the Imperial shared so many design features with the Plymouth. Anyway, so then here they are putting up the sign with plenty of people standing by to criticize on how they were putting the sign up. It's a beautiful sign. I'm not sure who did it. Yes, we did a lot of carrying in of things from the trunks of the Imperials.
And Frank has to have everything perfect.
Mm-hmm.
There's his wife coming.
And there's Jeanette Fink.
Uh-huh. And Vic. I bet they're going out for breakfast.
Yeah, that must be it. Unfortunately, those flags on the antenna look great, but they also bend the antennas, as I discovered when I was photographing the cars at the Queen Mary meet. Every single car that had those blue and white flags on the antenna had a bent antenna. But it does look good. Yeah, that car has a 440, and that is a very light body style, so there's plenty of pep in the later Imperials. Oh, okay. This is a 1963 Imperial Crown Coupe, and we have two possible families that own this. Okay.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Let's look at our list. I had written it down. One possibility is, could it be Walt? Sure?
Or could it be, let me see, it's definitely not the Bisels. So it might be Robert and Louis Galvan, I'm not sure. But beautiful car in any case. This is an interesting car because the front end,
Go ahead.
the front end was designed by Virgil Exner and the rear end was designed by Elwood Ingle, who also designed the roof line. And this is the one year where there was such a difference in design, the extreme front end design, which I like a lot, and that beautifully formal rear end, which I also like a lot. It's just an interesting transition. The hubcaps were intentionally designed that way to look like they were almost coming off the wheels so that they could look more deeply dished. There's actually two hubcaps, one inside the other. So this is the only year of this back bumper, even though the front bumper was shared across several years. And there's those freestanding headlights. They created those specifically to recreate the classic era. And incidentally, if you removed the grille from a 63 and put a 61 grille in, it would fit perfectly, but you couldn't do that with the 62. Let's see what else.
Well, while you're waiting here, I just want I want to introduce myself. I'm the one that started the program, and I'm Cathy Bullock, who's speaking.
And I'm Tony Lindsey. And I'm from the Southern California area, San Diego specifically.
In the Northern California Imperial Owners Club.
Now this dashboard has the nickname of being the Wurlitzer dash because there's so many knobs and buttons and things. I think there's 32 knobs and buttons and levers on that dashboard. Tons of chrome. Incredible dashboard. This is the last year of this dashboard. They had it from 1961 to 63. And there's basically only two light bulbs in the entire dash. All the rest of it is electroluminescent paneling. And it uses 200 volts AC, so if the lights are on and you reach up under the dash at just the right place, you can knock yourself on your butt really fast. It'll zap you a good one. Now, I'm not sure what's happening here.
Oh, this is something like I would do when I first started videoing, doing the video work. And I remember in '82, I had that heavy pack in the back,
yes.
And I remember you're helping me, and I was so frustrated, and there you were taking pictures, and you're still working at them, taking pictures and videoing, auditing and everything.
I'm wondering what
happened
here. Well, there's a car in there somewhere. I think that it's trying to compensate. Here we go. I'm adjusting the lighting now. Okay, so then on this, you'll notice on the taillights, see down at the bottom there's a little gold crown? They used that in some manner or another from every year from 1955 to 1963. On 63 it was on the taillights, in 61 it was on the side of the car, on the crown series above the second I in the word Imperial, so it was like the dotting the I. In 55 and 56 it was on the the back part of the roof on the side on the coupes. And they used it throughout the different years. It's the same piece. So this is the hotel that we were staying at. Now, which one was this?
This is the Caravan Inn in Napa. And I just want to say that now that we have a little time, there are so many activities and that we enjoyed. Washing the cars and getting everything ready, and of course we had that banquet that we enjoyed, and we had that speaker who was an authority on car collections,
and auctions,
and the auctions, and he knew the value. He was a interesting speaker, and he had his truck that was an old-fashioned ice cream truck, dryer truck.
Oh, heck, it had to be in the early 1920s or something like
So
that.
he goes around for the dryer company for the when they open their ice cream companies.
It's such a radical change from 1963 styling to 1964 styling. You could never guess there was only 1 year of difference between the two, since the 1964 through 66 Imperials are so boxy. But underneath, this is the exact same car as the 1957 through 1966 Imperial, and they just changed the outer skin and, of course, the engine in the late 50s. But big, strong, solid cars. Excellent road automobiles. It used to be that the only types of cars that I would willingly drive was Volkswagens, Peugeots, and Mercedes, until one day I drove a 64 Imperial, and ever since then that's all I'd willingly drive. Since I'm 6'5", I have plenty of room. Now this is a 62 Imperial Crown convertible. This one belongs to Don Paxton.
Oh, and Don Paxton was in charge of the meat, and he did an excellent job. And he definitely owns more than one Imperial. I remember when you were an Imperial owner, you just don't own one, you own several.
Right.
I know.
Okay, and this was the 1990 Imperial that was loaned to the club by Chrysler Corporation for display, and it's a beautiful car. We'll be seeing more of those later on in the tape. Matter of fact, there were 2 of them at this particular show. Okay, 62 Crown convertible. You can see where it says a Crown. That's that little rectangle below the tail light. The trunk lid is from a 61. The trunk lid chrome is from a 61, but the tail lights are definitely Virgil Exner designs. They're what are called sparrow strainers. Not technically, but you know that's the phrase, I guess, when you're driving real fast and a sparrow hits it and it gets strained. But the back bumper is 60. What's the guy? Yeah, 60 through 62 is identical. And there again is that classic look. Now, 62 is the only year that had that split V front end in that span of years. They reverted back to that in 1964. This is the 1990 Imperial. This is probably the last large K car that they'll ever make. They're planning to go over to an entirely new body style after this, and an entirely new chassis. So that this is the longest K car ever made.
The disappointing part of this car for me is the trunk the trunk space is so small compared to the older cars.
Yeah. On the plus side, I noticed that with the driver's seat all the way back, I can sit in the back seat, all 6'5" of me, and have plenty of legroom. The headroom's just a tiny bit cramped, and it's really not wide enough for 3 people, in my opinion. But you know, it does have plenty of length inside. Now again, the 62 Wurlitzer dashboard, very, very, very minor differences between 61 through 63. It's got this wonderful rectangular steering wheel. The reason why they designed it that way is so that extremely fat people could slide in underneath it when they're climbing into the car, but also you can see the entire wide speedometer through that rectangular steering wheel. Yes, those power windows. Now the 61 and 62 interiors are almost exactly identical. Matter of fact, they pretty much are identical. This is the pattern of the leather. You could only get leather interiors on the Crown convertibles. Matter of fact, this looks absolutely identical to me. Yeah, it was very contrasty light. It was hard to get the right lighting here. And notice that there's a lot of chrome on the inside of the convertible top, and as well as painted metal. I never could figure out why they chose painted in some cases but chromed in others. The visors are unique to the convertibles and are very hard to find when they're not broken on the very tips of the posts, since they used a very brittle plastic. This car has the power window and the power vent window. It's got the aftermarket air conditioning underneath the dash. and meaning as opposed to factory air conditioning. They're very nice units. This is showing the hinges. Gotta get that lighting right.
Well,
Okay, once again, this car has full power windows and power vent windows. That's those two vertical switches there. And of course, the aircraft style door pull release there, the handle that you pull back. 61 to 62 is that aluminum trim down there, or stainless trim that says Crown right there. On the 1961, it's actually painted black and doesn't say Crown. It has a big old Crown symbol. Once again, that back bumper. And now in the center of that trunk lid is the first usage of the Imperial Eagle. And on the front of the car, you'll notice that it has that same eagle on the 62s as a hood ornament. So 61 did not have it as a hood ornament, but all subsequent Imperials did.
well, you certainly know a lot about Imperials. I thought my husband did, but I think he's got competition, Tony.
Well, I learned from him. As a matter of fact, I was quizzing him at the last meet, at this Napa meet. So then you can barely see it, but there's the eagle itself, and that's the first usage of it, along with the hubcaps on the 61 in the center. And so each year was generally unique as far as the center trim on that trunk lid. That was the same trunk lid from 1960 to 63, but was interesting, what I discovered at this last meet from, I believe, your husband, is that the 1960 and 63 center trim for that particular trunk lid is identical. Okay.
Hi there, but who is it?
He's the gentleman with the 1955. No, it's a 56 with the 55 front fenders, I believe. Okay, let's pause that. Yeah, unfortunately, between the two of us, we're not really sure who everybody was, but we can narrow it down. This was either the Cairo car, which was a 55 four-door sedan, or Jerry and Diane Pope. But I suspect that, I'm not really sure. We'll take a look at, hey, we're guessing. We're doing the best we can here. So in this particular car, you can't see it from this shot, but it is, I believe, two-tone pale blue, and the car is completely original. That's the original paint on that, the original chrome. Just minor little details, but the car is just incredibly beautiful. I really value original cars. Now this is an honest-to-goodness 55. It's not a hybrid. There's one car that was a hybrid that I've seen recently, so maybe I'm mixing it up. But where it was a 56, but with 55 front fenders. The reason why you can tell that this is a full 55 is that see how round the wheel wells are. And notice that it has the factory chrome Kelsey Hayes wire wheels. Those are definitely Imperial wheels because they have the small center cap. Now that center cap may look pretty darn big, but it's small compared to, say, the 55 Dodge wire wheels, which had a huge center cap. You could almost not see the wires at all. So this is definitely Imperial. It's got that wonderful side trim, lots and lots of it too. And this one has round rear wheel well openings as well, and the fenders trail downward, so that this is definitely a 55. In 56, they went up in semi-fins, and let me see. Very, very nice car.
I was surprised that there weren't many more early 50s Imperials, because we have so many 60s, and I know that there are 53s around.
Oh, yes.
So I was hoping that the next meet we'll have some more competition for the 50s.
I think you're right. And the problem that I've seen is that a lot of people with the early 50s cars don't really see them as being that collectible, and that's a shame because if you own a car, it's certainly worth keeping.
Well, I just want, you're hearing the clock chime. It's 11 o'clock. It's a Saturday morning, and Tony came all the way from Los Angeles, San Diego area to record the soundtrack. So, and that's our clock in the family room chiming.
Okay, so once again we're viewing that particular hood ornament on the 1990. That's a crystal design with a new Imperial design with Imperial Eagle design within it. Look at those wide whites. It looks so good on the car. Now, I remember speaking to this gentleman with the hat. He's a very, very nice gentleman. Very friendly. I flipped out over the car. I just couldn't believe how nice it was.
I know for talking about the cars of the 50s, that was, my husband had a 53, and that was our honeymoon car, actually. Well, he didn't own any Imperials when we got married. He just had a DeSoto, and the DeSoto was always breaking down, so I suggested that he better get another car. Well, so his first car that he bought, let me see. Well, no, we bought his first car was a 53, and then after that he bought a 64 Imperial.
Mm-hmm.
And then from then on, we didn't own anything but Imperials.
Okay, that's me, in my cowboy hat, flipping out over his car, just telling him how much I like it, and that I like the fact that it's so original, that the car's not all over restored, which I am guilty of doing on the car I'm currently restoring right now, but I would much rather have a nice solid original car. But unfortunately I haven't been able to locate one like I was looking for. So it's interesting. I just noticed that I tend to slouch when I'm speaking to someone shorter than me.
Well, there was so much interest in the cars because so many spectators came to look, and I think we even gained all the clubs gained new members because there were
yes.
people that had Imperials and they didn't know anything about the club and they wanted to hear all about it.
Oh yes.
And so we really were pleased that they had such an interest.
Oh yes, it was a wonderful show. Yeah, matter of fact, I'm president of the WPC club down in San Diego, and I think we even gained 2 members way up north, for our region because of people wanting to join just about any club that they could possibly find.
The first meet was held in
Morro Bay.
Was it 82? 83?
I believe 82 or 83. If this is the 7th one, then I think that this would be it would be 1983.
Okay, so that was Morro Bay, and then the second one was that in Yosemite?
It might have been. It might have been. And then I'm not sure. I think it then transferred down to Buena Park, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
After that, wasn't it Sacramento? No.
Monterey.
Monterey. Yes,
Sacramento. Then Long Beach.
Got the Queen Mary.
Queen Mary.
And then Napa Valley.
Napa Valley. So
I believe that's the order.
it must have been 83 that we started.
Must have been. Okay, so then this is a 1966 Imperial. Looks like a Crown Coupe. Boy, with a strong reflection in the window. I can tell it's a 66 because of that, a Crown Coupe, because of that incredible egg crate grille on the front. Very, very strong design on it. And the headlights are behind glass, which they had from 65 to 66. And very, very formal looking car. It's such a major difference from the 61 to 63s. Now, this car was entirely, completely designed by Elwood Ingle, who also designed the early 60 to 60, let me think about this. No, it would be 1961 to 63 Thunderbird, and he also designed the 1961 Lincoln. Go ahead.
That's Tom and Sherry Egger, and from Modesto.
Very nice people.
1966 Crown, yes. And so they're very active in the Sacramento group, and they've sponsored tours, so they're always excited and enthusiastic about the meets.
The '66 Imperial was the last year of the body-on-frame construction, where the Imperial was a separate design from the Chrysler. In '67, it began sharing its body with the Chryslers. But it's an incredible, incredible design of these cars. A lot of people see this and think that it's a Lincoln because it's got the very much the same lines. Now this dashboard is drastically different from the 1961 to 63. You can see there's a lot of wood, there's a lot of, the steering wheel is round. This one has the tilt and telescopic steering wheel. This one has the bucket seats, which were pretty much standard. It was a standard option anyways on the Crown Coupe, and it does have the headrests, I believe. Yes, it does.
This is a two-door?
Yes, it is a two-door. Each year, from 64 to 66, they kept increasing the amount of wood veneer inside the car. Look at that lovely interior.
And one thing that I've noticed since the first meet to now is that there is so much improvement on the cars. They're really doing a beautiful job in restoring. The first meet, the cars were really in pretty bad shape, but now you really have to have a perfect car, and it has to be original, and because people are so much more knowledgeable and so much more interested in keeping your cars up to snuff.
Yes, yeah, I've noticed that too. Now you'll notice that the taillights, there's two parts to the taillights, and the backup lights are in the bumper. That was only for '66, and the trunk lid has the hump in it all the way along the top of the trunk lid too. So that trunk lid is unique to that one particular year, and those red inserts on the inside of the taillights are unique to that year too, as well as the word Imperial on the lower right edge of the trunk lid. Normally it said what series it was on the earlier years. And the back window on the Crown Coupe from 64 to 66 was the same as the LeBaron. It was very small for a more formal look. That egg crate front grille. Now the clear glass, you can't see it in this picture, but the clear glass headlights covers have gold rings around the perimeter to add a little bit more class to it, I guess. But some states wouldn't allow the gold rings on the glass, that you had to put plain tempered clear glass in there. So I've seen many Imperials with plain glass. But you can see the gold rings in this shot here. See there's two of them. And the grille is, of course, unique to the 66. Along with the, see on the right, the chrome trim that goes along the top of the fender, that's flat.
Excuse me, they just came back from breakfast. I hope they had a good breakfast.
I think so. They look pretty pleased. And they certainly had a pleasant ride. Looks like they picked somebody else up, too. No, I guess not. There he is again with his 69. That wonderful front end on it. Now those taillights are sequential. What they did is they got the mechanism, the electronic mechanism for making the turn indicators blink in sequence from Ford Corporation for the Thunderbird. The people at Chrysler were not against stealing design, not stealing, but borrowing designs from other corporations, such as the Twilight Sentinel and the four-way flashers in the mid-60s for Imperials actually came from General Motors. A lot of people don't know that. It's a Delco design. They just bought them from General Motors. So the there's a mixture there. I guess they figured that since they had such a small production, that's another Crown Coupe. I believe this is the one that was in the shot earlier. See where it says Crown Coupe on the saddle panel. Certainly dwarfs the car next to it, doesn't it? Now this one is a 1965 Imperial. That's a Crown four-door. There's several ways of telling that. It's got that cross in the center of the grille. It's definitely a four-door, and the way we can tell it's a Crown is by the back window. See how large it is. And see how the backup lights are, well, you can't really tell in this shot, but the backup lights are in inside of the tail lights as opposed to inside the bumper. So this is still pretty early. A lot of the people haven't arrived yet, but there's going to be a big crowd, as you'll see in later shots. One of my little witticisms about Imperials is that they're so heavy that when they go over bumps, they don't go over bumps, they knock them flat.
Well, I know that they're so heavy because you know that for the Destruction Derby, they always use the Imperials always used to win. In fact, everybody wanted to buy a car for my husband because of the Imperial, and they always won. Now, for the Destruction Derby, they banned the Imperial. You cannot drive an Imperial.
That's right. I spoke to a gentleman who used to be in Destruction Derbies, and he said that it used to be he would buy a car for each Derby. But after he started driving Imperials at these Destruction Derbies, then he went to one Imperial per season, because he always won. Now this is a slate gray 1961 Imperial Crown four-door hardtop.
Well, here comes it's a 61 Imperial
Crown four-door hardtop.
Yes, and who's driving it? That seems like that's Brandy Elledge.
Or Elledge.
Elledge, okay, from Sebastopol.
I was very, very pleased to meet him. It's not often that I get to meet other 1961 Imperial owners. And very, very nice gentleman. I gave him a tour of his car later on. Yep, that's Ted Hackney, and that's his 1968 Imperial convertible. That's one of the Shriner cars.
Ready?
Ready.
This is Ted, and he's president of the Imperial Owners of Sacramento.
This is his sister behind him now. This is Charlene Quinn in her 1965 Imperial Crown convertible, and right behind her is their mother, Bernice Hackney, in her 1968 four-door hardtop.
Yes. Well, I just want to say that Charlene is second vice president of the Sacramento Imperial Club. And of course, Bernice is the treasurer, and she's a fantastic treasurer. I remember working with her when we went together for the Yosemite meet, and she was so efficient.
That wonderful electric razor rear grille, as they call it, with the little floating pontoon bumperettes off to the side. Well, that's a nice original car. Matter of fact, I think, didn't she win Best Original Car at this particular meet? I'm not sure.
I think you're right, yes.
When I was mentioning that Ted owned one of the Shriner cars, I'm not sure how many, but I think it was somewhere around 30 of the last Imperial convertibles in 1968 were ordered especially for Shriner's parades, and they were all white. All of the cars ordered were white with a green leather interior and with a green convertible top, so it was a very special order, and he has one of those cars. This one here is another 1965 Imperial. I can tell from the crossbar front grille. This is the four-door hardtop, the Crown with the large back window. This might be the same car. I'm not sure.
As I'm sitting here looking at the video, I'm just hoping that we don't have made too many mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Oh, and now of course I know who that is.
That's Vern Kipping.
Kipping, yes. Vern was the president of the Northern California Imperial Club when I was the treasurer secretary, so I worked with him, and I know how enthusiastic he is, and of course he's the photographer too.
Oh yes, boy, yes. He and I and Tom Johnson worked on the still photography for this event, and it was so much fun working with them because we're all three of us very enthusiastic, and we're practically throwing our bodies out into the road to flag people down to take their pictures. It was a lot of fun.
Vern never really did want to become president of the club, but then when David Michaels passed away, David had appointed him, but the club was definitely not really organized and such, but we did many, many things, and he said to Vern, you're going to be my vice president, and of course Vern said fine, but Vern never thought that he had to do anything, and then when David Michaels passed away, well, they elected him to be president.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now he's always at most meets, and always a happy individual.
One note I'd like to mention is see how the dashboard is split in the middle. The bottom half is wood veneer and the upper half is chromed metal. And in 64 it was all chromed metal. In 65 it was half and half, and then in 66 it was all wood. This is a beautiful, beautiful interior. This is the Imperial Eagle cloth. I believe it's eagles or crowns, I can't remember. But it's a beautiful, beautiful design. That's a fine, fine interior with the leather bolstering.
But one thing that's, though I'm only the wife of a real Imperial enthusiast, the lining of that 65 is very delicate.
Oh Lord, yes.
I mean, it's hard to find any real good linings on the 65.
Oh yes, very, very, very delicate, but a fine material. Okay, I think he's going to pop the window down. Boy, there's no lack of room on the inside of these cars, that's for sure. Just a tiny, tiny bit awkward getting in because of that very formal roof line. It doesn't look inviting. Boy, wouldn't you just love to go on a long trip. Just reclining in the back. Now that is the Crown rear lights. The LeBaron had little individually focused reading lights in the back, and a strap in the back for hanging on to as you were getting into and out of the car. There's that wonderful eagle upholstery again. Black carpeting. Oh, that's beautiful front end. I believe I'm going to zoom in on the headlights at some point. If I don't, I certainly should, because you can see the Imperial Eagle hood ornament up at the top, of course. Now the bumper sticker says, "Keep building Chryslers, Lee, and we'll keep on driving them." Okay. The hubcaps are incredibly, incredibly heavy on these cars because they use cast metal on the center design. So the hubcaps, boy, if they come off and they hit somebody else, they make a big dent. Now the headlight covers again are, it's from 65 to 66, are covered with glass, and instead of having the gold rings, it has the stripes. Now that center chrome ring there, the one with the little teeth on it, is just about impossible to identify if you're trying to figure out what on earth it goes to until you actually see a 65 Imperial. Now this one here is a 62, you can see from the split V front end. I'm trying to identify that color. This videotape is not very clear. I believe that's a gold color. Yep, that's a Crown because it has the large wraparound back window. And it says, I believe, Crown right there underneath the taillight, yes. So if this is a Crown four-door hardtop, it might be Rich and Juanita Kretschmer from San Diego. I'm not really sure. That's a 64. Now, that's interesting that they would choose to put a 64 behind the 62 because they both have that same V front design in the center of the grille. As I'll be backing up, you'll see that. And there it is. So they tried to have some continuity of design, even though they made such a radical change. They did have the headlights seem a little bit separate from the body, and they did have that Imperial V section when they made the major design change. And of course, they had to do something really radically different, so they put the headlights behind glass the subsequent year. Now this one would be a 1964 Imperial Crown four-door hardtop. Okay, so who do you think that is?
That must be John and Gloria Weaver from Sacramento.
Could be, at least according to our list. Okay. And there I am opening up the door and showing the lush interior and that incredible dashboard.
That's not a 64. You sure?
No, no, the one behind it is.
Yeah,
this
no,
one
this
here
one's
is
not.
this one is a 62.
62. So this is not these John and Gloria.
No, we'll be showing them again in a moment.
Yes.
They pulled up behind.
Because I'm positive I know because that was a 64 was the first 60 Imperial that we owned. So I
right. Now this one, as I say, is the 64, and the first completely Elwood Ingle design. And very, very nice design it is too. I have 3 64s myself. Got a convertible coupe, a LeBaron 4-door hardtop. Of course, the LeBaron only came as a 4-door hardtop. The only difference between the LeBaron and this Crown, really, was that it had the smaller back window and had a different interior, had more luxury options standard, and it had more soundproofing in the body. So once again, this is the Crown.
It's certainly a sturdy car.
Oh, the best. I still drive my 64 LeBaron every single day. Now this is the 63. Once again, it has that no split in the center, and it has 64 hubcaps on it. And let me see what else. Now this one here, it's hard to tell from this angle. I believe it is a Crown. Looks like the headlight is angled downward just a little bit. It's easy to do. Those are incredibly massive headlight assemblies. They have to be at least 10 to 15 pounds per side. Now notice that it has the hood ornament in the center, up at the top. That is the Imperial Eagle. For 1963, you could get a sewing kit, a set of earrings, a tie tack, incredible amounts of jewelry and frou-frou and gewgaws and knickknacks too, with the Imperial Eagle on them. They were offered by a separate company, and the intention of creating these objects was so that the dealers could cozy up to the different past owners of Imperial, so that they would remember the dealership. So they didn't cost much to make, but they were very nicely made little objects. I've seen a few of them. I have all the literature at home on that because I went to the National Automotive History Collection, which had an original brochure. Okay. Now you'll notice that on many, many Imperials, the roof is a little bit more ornate than you might expect. There will be different details on the roof. The reason why is because the cars were so low that you could actually see what was on the roof. So they had to fancy him up in some way. Yes, this is the 61 again, the 61 Crown. Now this one here, this one is the freshly restored 1960 Imperial Crown convertible belonging to good old Doug Bear. Boy, he sure is proud of this car. He spent a lot of time and money on it. This is its very first show. He just finished restoring it about a week earlier. That's Richard Holmes and Tom Johnson there.
Well, the trunk, I know that a lot of people would call my husband and ask if they had this particular trunk, and I don't know where I heard it, but is it called a toilet seat?
No. No, the flight sweep deck lid was originally shown on, I believe, the 1955 Chrysler de Elegance show car, along with the special Sparrow Strainer taillights. I think that started in '53 on the show cars. But Virgil Exner was very, very proud of those taillights and of his trunk lid. The trunk lid was not functional at all. The reason why these cars are arriving now, such as the one on the left, is Dick and Marlis Hammond's 1961 Imperial Crown convertible, one of 429 made. And I know why. I know how many were made because I own 2 of those darn things. And anyway, so then the San Diego and Southern California contingent Caravan is now arriving. So here's Dick and Marlis. Now this car is one of 2 Chrysler Corporation cars ever made that is asymmetrical, meaning that the hood ornament, instead of being in the center of the grille, is off to the side, and the center of the center chrome piece in the center of the hood does not line up with the center of the dash. Boy, they sure goosed that, didn't they? Now that's their CB antenna. in the
Who is
back.
president? Who is now president of the Southern California group? Who's
Oh,
still?
it's always been Dick and
It's
Morris,
Dick.
always.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Always.
as far as I know that and he is still president.
Oh yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he's a very good president, as a matter of fact.
There's a lot of work involved in
Oh,
being
Lord, yes.
president and being any officer.
And you need to have a certain nature too. Now these tail fins here were 11 inches longer than the 1960. The only reason why I know that is I have a factory press release that mentions that very proudly. And the doors are the same from 1960 through 63. So that the chrome trim, there was always some form of chrome trim that followed along the groove alongside the door. My goodness, I must have been eager to get another car. This is a 62 Imperial, looks like a Crown four-door hardtop with that first year of the hood ornament. I keep coming back to that hood ornament, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a beautiful design. It's one of the classic designs. I notice that they're still using it on newer cars, such as the 1979 LeBaron and LeBaron station wagon. I guess they call it the Town and Country. That's a Crown series. The taillights have little Imperial eagles on them, even though it's only a Chrysler LeBaron. And those the little eagles on the taillights are very popular to be used as belt buckles or various other designs, you know, worn as jewelry because they're just the right size. They're easily peeled off of a taillight with a screwdriver, but I didn't say that. You can also order them separately from Chrysler Corporation even today. Just have to get the part number.
Well, I know that the one thing about the Chrysler cars is that every year they're different, and you can't use one part for one car to another. They're always changing. They're not the same from year to year, and this is what makes it so difficult.
Yeah, but it adds a bit of challenge to it. You know, as I was saying to someone earlier tonight, as I was on my way up, last night, that I could very easily collect more common cars, say like, to me, collecting 1957 Chevrolets is sort of like collecting pigeons. They're about as common.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I saw a 56 Bel Air coupe with a sign on the front of it at a show, very proudly saying, one of only 56,082 made. And I had to laugh at that because I think the most common Imperial that I own they made 992 of, I think. And you know, I find the exclusiveness of the Imperials to be a very, very positive attraction for me. That, you know, they're not common.
Well, my husband Mike and I always say that we've never found an Imperial owner that we did not like.
That's a very, very important point.
So
you know, you're right.
Imperial owners have distinct personalities and are very pleasant people. And of course, I'm prejudiced, but
well, I have to slightly disagree because I have run into a couple of turkeys. Since I'm very large, as you can see in this shot, I'm very enthusiastic and very friendly. And I have a very bad habit, is that if I see someone in Imperial, I'll run up to them waving my hands in the air saying, oh, I have Imperials too, I really like that. And a couple of times there have been people who, seeing me running up to them, would roll up their window in my face and drive on. I would be crushed. Ah, yes, this is Ken Woods with his 1965 Imperial Crown convertible. Now, I keep saying Crown convertible, but of course all Imperial convertibles from 1957 through 68 were of the Crown series.
Well, you're talking about people that are enthusiastic.
Okay. But so then Don
Paxton was really a very enthusiastic person because every time he saw an Imperial, he would put an application form to join the Imperial Club on the dashboard. And I know that every time I'd be parking someplace, I'd find this application from Don. He didn't realize it was my car.
Right. Yeah, that happens to me down in San Diego all the time, and I feel like saying, I already belong! Leave me alone! Because I'm always finding
isn't that John McClay? No, John Lloyd,
John Lloyd,
John
yes.
Lloyd there.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to need some help on identifying these people. We've got some very
No, there is John McClay.
Alrighty.
Also looking.
But so we're just showing a real wide expanse of Imperials. This is later much later on in the day after the cars had started to become arrayed by year.
And it's so difficult to judge and just impossible because there's so many factors to look, and everybody had certain features of their car that were outstanding, and when you had and so many cars of the same year, and it was just almost an impossible situation. But we did the best. Oh, there I am. Yeah, there I am.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I tried.
Oh, I'm
yes.
talking to John Tennyson, the former president of the Sacramento group, also very, very active. He owns many Imperials and very knowledgeable about Imperials, too.
Yeah, I did my darndest to try and get every single Imperial on tape, though certainly I'm sure I missed a few. These were very nice little signs. He's made out of metal. Of course, some of them got flattened as somebody would drive over it in an Imperial.
Yeah, Mr. Piffinger made those.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, he did.
Beautiful job. My goodness, look at all the Imperials. And they just go on and on. That, of course, is Vic Hammond and Marlis. Looking at Don Paxton's 1962 Imperial convertible. That's a pale cream color. And right behind it is the 1960 convertible. Okay. Okay, this one is a 62, right here, that dark blue one. The gray one is a 57 or 58 or 59, I can't tell. These are all 62s here.
They're all 62s.
Oh yes, we've begun, why don't you folks introduce yourselves? We've got some help now on the audio dubbing.
Well, I think we're
all right. So could you folks introduce yourselves?
Well, that's Myrna sitting over there on your left, and I'm Frank Pfaffinger. Whether we can do much to help you or not, well, we're going to try.
And we're glad to have you here. That is actually that's a bronze. That's a bronze 1961 Imperial LeBaron.
You pronounce it just like it was spelled.
And it has swivel seats. And it's interesting that the swivel seats are in the crown pattern, now that I think about it. The LeBaron had one pattern for the leather in the leather, but they also had a different pattern for the
Bedford cord.
Right.
Good looking car.
Very beautiful car. I wish it was mine.
61?
61. The car is very, very nice condition. It's the first time I've ever seen it, as a matter of fact, at any of the shows. It's very correct. That's the proper gold for the
air cleaner.
Air cleaner. Beautiful car, very well equipped. But then again, all the Barons were. Okay, that's the air conditioning V2 pump. That's the autopilot controller. There's the power brake booster, big canister there. Of course, the special. I have this fascination with that long L-shaped horn. You can see it poking through the opening. That horn was only on from 1955 to around 61 or 62, and it makes this car sound like a freight train. It goes honk, and the way I phrase it is that it doesn't say honk. It says, "Get off the freeway, peasant! His Imperial Highness is coming." This is a '56 Imperial four-door sedan. You can tell because it has flattened wheel wells along the top. This one is a '68. You can tell because there's those little tiny square side marker lights on the side of the bumper at the bottom. This gentleman standing in front of it, but there it is right there. '68 was the first year that all American cars were forced to have side marker lights. Chrysler Corporation used the same marker lights on all of their cars except for the Imperials, which were square, and all the rest of them were round.
The wheel trim rings are the same as on the 69 and 70.
There's one minor difference, however, that the center valve is slightly inboard versus outboard later on.
Oh.
So if you take a look at that, there's just a tiny bit of difference, but the hole is drilled in a different place. This is another 68 here. And of course, Ted Hackney's 1968 convertible.
Those people sure seem to know how to hug all the cameras at work, don't they?
Say what? Oh, yes, you're talking.
Walking in front of the camera.
Ah, yes. Well, I was sneaking around in my sneakers. How could they know? Okay, just a moment.
Oh, gosh. Well,
Den-
it'll get better.
Dennis Lardner was the main reason why I was able to stay so mobile and videotape this, because he hauled the dolly around that was bearing the video camera.
Oh,
And
my
that's
goodness.
So we were hauling around a 300-foot set of extension cords, and I couldn't have done it without Dennis's help, and he was wonderful, very cheerful, and stayed with me the whole day. We were hungry and tired.
Who owned that 68 convertible?
Not sure, but boy, it's pretty. You know who I think it might be is
Boy, there's a good-looking 69.
Oh, if I
Look
say,
at that.
yeah, if you may say so.
I thought you were going to say there's a good-looking man, my husband, who was right next to it.
Oh, that's a pretty 69 there. Now, this was the first year of the hidden headlights on the Imperials. And this one here is definitely not a 69. Now, wouldn't you say that's probably about a 70, 71? I'm not sure.
It should be, I should know, I think it's my car, no.
It is your car.
What, this one here?
It's a 70.
That's a
No,
70.
70, no.
Oh, okay. Now, this one here I believe is a 72,
No, this is
the gold-colored one. Now, that's a 69. Now, I'm showing the differences between the grills. There's quite a bit of difference. I'm not sure I believe that's
And
a
the,
72.
It's a
Side lights,
72 according to
The escutcheons around the signal lights are considerably different.
that's the Yetter's car.
Yeah, well then, the 70.
Is that Yetter's?
Yes,
Well, that's a 73.
no,
oh,
that's a
72.
72.
72?
And that other one, the other one that was a 70 was the Bullocks.
This
Oh,
one is
okay.
the Skulls.
Right, so
Was
then that would
It's
be,
a 74.
That looked
Right.
like Dwayne Lundberg there, if I'm not mistaken, with that baseball hat on.
Yes,
Well, this
it
car
was.
is the Skulls car.
okay, this is underneath. No, I mean Chrysler New Yorker Brougham, I'm sorry. And so they used that same grille with the minor differences. They just changed the hood ornaments, which in this case is the Imperial Eagle, but they used the exact same car. Instead of having Imperial on the front headlight cover, they used Chrysler. But it's the same car. Here's another gorgeous Ford. Beautiful. Judging from the pattern of that grill with the bars in the midst of the other bars on the grill, and then there's this one. This is very likely the last year, the Imperial full size. This one is a 75.
Yeah.
Beautiful interior on it. Got a big old dog in
Look
it
at this
too.
interior.
Yeah. You speaking of the dog or the
Oh yeah. I know the dog. Look at that gorgeous interior.
Hi there.
Just spectacular.
He's just daring you to stick your hand in there.
Yeah, it looks mean. Mean doggy.
Well, they're the nicest dogs until they get in their car, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They don't
Then
have
look
to
out.
put, they don't have to
Well, they got a
put it in
LeBaron to
all types
protect, you
of-
know. Okay, judging from this grill, I would say that this is another 75. Last year, this is big size. Now, this is a coupe. Now, the roof on these was very unique. You'll notice it's got that interesting roof treatment with the upper roof. What was nice about these is that these Chrysler did not do the roofs on these cars. It was American Sunroof Corporation, ASC. And Chrysler finished the rest of the body, and then they had American Sunroof Company, I believe in California, do the roof lines on these, the special padded roofs. Some of them had the sunroof, some of them did not. And they continued this through at least 1977.
Yeah, we saw that, but you should really go talk to
Okay,
as
now
long as
we're
you
talking
have.
about the 81 to 83 era. This one is 1981. The highest production of the 3 years. Great cars. No one was allowed to work on these cars unless they had over 25 years of experience of building cars. This one here is a very interesting car. This is an Imperial FS, a Frank Sinatra edition. It's a very, very rare car. There's still some around, knocking around San Diego, but unfortunately none of the people involved are interested in joining up with the club. But the purpose of this particular model, they wanted to thank good old Frank Sinatra, who had been standing by Chrysler Corporation during their time of trouble around 1981, 1982. So they came out with this special edition, which is baby blue on the outside, metallic, with a baby blue leather interior. And this is very interesting, that right, here, let's zoom in, see if we can see that. Maybe, yeah, it's locked. Okay. That case right there contains your choice of either cassette or 8-track of every tape that Frank Sinatra ever came out with as part of the package. Baby blue inside, baby blue outside. What a great car. Very, very rare. This is the rear view. Now you see that bustle back rear end. It was very unfortunate that they chose that particular design, because at the same time that they came out with this design, so did Cadillac for the Seville, and so did Ford for the Continental. This is 75, 75, and with very little difference, if any, the 74. We have another 1990 Imperial pulling in. There's that 1972. Wish I could get a better angle on that. What's interesting is to take a look at how long, how different the rear length is on that 1990 versus the 72. Versus the length on the front. It's a very capacious car inside. The 1990 Imperial is very large inside. It's not wide, but it's very long. Okay, so this is underneath the hood of another 1990 Imperial. It's a V6, 3.3 liter. Very neatly laid out underneath the hood. Interesting. Okay, they have more length. This is the longest of the K cars ever made, and probably the last of the new K car designs. They're going over to a new design, from what I understand. A new chassis after this. You know, we have a couple of very, very rare cars, 1960s. And there's just not that many 4-door and 2-door hardtops around anymore. Most of the 4-doors have been chopped up for various reasons. I've seen several 1960 Imperials that have 4-doors especially, that have had the entire rear end chopped off to turn into a child's bed or a sofa. The rear end design is very, very popular for that sort of thing. So this one is a LeBaron, you can tell from the roof line. Notice how this roof differs from, say, the coupe, which is very similar to the normal Crown 4-door roof line. So then it's the exact same roof, except if you look very carefully, you might see a bit of a seam where they welded in the new metal piece with the smaller window in it. These almost always have a bit of a ripple because of the lead has started to melt and to run a little bit, because they use lead to fill in the seam there. This particular car has the rear air conditioning unit. You can see the vents that they used. The middle one was for air coming in. The outer ones were for directing the air. You could pivot those. It's a very popular option, especially in the South. There's a very fascinating dashboard. This one also uses electroluminescent paneling, but of this only 1-year design. That it used ceramic, not light bulbs, to light up the dash. The 61s did that, 61 through 63 did the same thing with an entirely different design. This car has, that switch denotes that it's got power door locks. Those panels right there are purple. They're cloisonné, but they're purple, and they are exclusive to the 60 LeBaron. That means it's got the sideways switch on the left, means that it's got the power vent windows, and of course the one next to it means the power windows. The car has many accessories, but then again all LeBarons, which was the top of the line 4-door for that particular year, excluding the Limousine. Generally the LeBarons had every possible option. Okay, now we're going to get into the rear end design. Now, the 1960 car was modeled after the Imperial d'Elegance show car of late 1958. The Imperial d'Elegance was not a running car. There was no engine or drivetrain in it. It was basically a clay car. Had very much the same design, except it had almost a 1961 rear end, and the front headlights were hidden. It was a beautiful car. It was a very, very long four-door hardtop. Now, this is a four-door hardtop, meaning there's no pillars in between the front and the back doors when the windows are down. The Imperial d'Elegance had about another 8 inches of window space there. It was a very, very impractically designed car, but very pretty to my eyes. A lot of people think they're ugly, but I love them. Now, the hubcaps on the LeBaron are unique for this year because the center section bolts on. If you remove the hubcap, then there's about 6 little bolts that you pull out in order to get out that center section. On the Crown series, I don't think that car over there has the proper hubcaps, but on the Crown series, it's all one stamped piece. The LeBaron's always had extra cost options. One way that the LeBaron differs in being built, now remember that the 60 to late 61 Imperials were built on their own separate assembly line. 61 was the last year for that. They had their own factory, their own separate assembly line. After that, then they were built on the same assembly line as the Chryslers. But the LeBarons, especially during 60 and 61, were put together much, much more stringently than the other Imperials. If you remove any of the chrome pieces on this car, there's large chunks of gunk underneath all the chrome pieces to make sure that they don't rattle. This trunk lid, the actual stamped trunk lid for 1960 was used all the way through 1963. All of the trunk lids interchanged. The only difference is the center chrome pieces. This exact same center is used in 1963. They skipped it, though some people will have them for 62, but they didn't really officially offer that trunk lid for 62, but they brought it back for 63. The tail fins on this are 11 inches shorter than the tail fins on the 1961. That's according to an official Chrysler Corporation press release for 61. The script that was used for this particular year for the words LeBaron, they changed the script each year. This one here has all sorts of little gaps in the design. It's very, very artsy. There's a gentleman down in San Diego who has reproduced that particular typeface and has called it Imperial, and it's used on a computer. Now, see, this is how the windows look up. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous car. Now you'll notice that there's stainless steel inserts in the roof. These were standard on the LeBaron 4-doors. These were not offered on the 2-doors at all. There's only one size piece. This is way too long to fit on a coupe. All other series, the Custom and the Crown series, you could order that as an extra cost option. Okay, now this is a coupe. This is a very rare one here. You're not going to see that many 60 coupes of any series. They only had 2 series. They had the Custom series and the Crown series. I believe this is the Custom series. The way you can tell is that there should be the words, the letters C-R-O-W-N individually mounted on the fender. Now these same doors on the 60, on all series, on the 2-door and 4-door, the same doors were used from 1960 to 63. So you wouldn't guess it, but the same creases, the same shape, everything. Unfortunately, this gentleman told me that his taillight got bashed out by a young guy closing a garage door on it. But the roofline is wonderful. The reason why the roofs were so special on the 60 through 60, from the 57 through 61s anyways, the reason why there was so much sculpturing on the roof and having things like stainless steel is because the cars were so low. Now that cars were getting so low, then they had to add styling to the roofline. My opinion is that if the cars were any more stylish, you couldn't fit people inside of them. But these cars were designed personally by Virgil Exner and a few very, very, very trusted but very pushed around designers. Virgil Exner is the person responsible for the styling on these cars, and he's my personal favorite as far as designers. Alright, so then this is yet another 1960 Imperial LeBaron. The difference is that this is a 4-door sedan, the last year of the Imperial 4-door sedans until 1967 and 68. So then, by virtue of the fact that this one is a sedan, then it is not a Southampton. Southampton was a slang word used to denote any 2-door or 4-door hardtop from 1957 through 1963, even though they officially didn't use the word by that time. But many people will mistakenly call their car a Southampton, thinking that that's the series. All it meant was the body style. And all 1961 Imperials were Southamptons. So, again, we have those special hubcaps. And you'll notice that it's very, very much the same design. This one here has the swivel seats, where, as on this one here, where the door is open, you'll notice that the seat pivots out when you flip that little lever there on the side. Okay. Looks like I'm already running out of battery juice. Okay, this one is a freshly restored 1960 Imperial Crown convertible. The only series that they made them in was in the Crown series. LeBaron was only in a four-door hardtop, or four-door sedan. Okay, there's many pieces of literature here to go with the car. To their Crown insignia, you'll notice that it's got it right there in little gold letters. Okay, this one here is missing it, and they probably need to replace that. The holes probably got filled in or something. Okay, this one seems to have the original interior on the swivel bucket seats. And you'll notice the particular shape, that these are very, very, very nice condition for original leather. That's 30-year-old leather. And once again, this one has the same sort of idea where you flip the lever and the seats come swiveling out. Okay, this is underneath the hood of Dick Hammond's 1961 Imperial Crown convertible. A fine, fine car too. And notice he has the reproduction Imperial stickers on the valve covers. He has his door open so that he could swivel his special swivel seats out. No, this isn't Dick Hammond's car at all. Dick Hammond has a hood pad, I believe. Somebody else's. I'm not sure.
Well, if you can tell by the hood, and you're doing pretty well, I think.
Well, I'm just not sure which car this is. It's hard to tell with the lighting. Oh, this is a 60. So this is the unrestored 60 convertible with a beautiful original leather interior in it, I believe. And we'll see for a second. Now, who would that be? 60 Imperial convertible.
You have Doug Beer,
No, he had the white one. And
the
then,
60 convertible.
right, and there was somebody else with the 60 convertible.
Well, he's the only one that's listed.
All right,
Tom
no problem.
Johnson.
Yeah, but it was not a convertible, Tom.
Oh.
Was
Right.
not.
So this is the front end.
There's
of
Vern
the
Kipping.
60. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, he stayed.
Notice the different Imperial logo again.
Oh yes, and the hubcaps for sure. But boy, those headlights.
Number 12.
Is this a 60?
This is a 61.
This is a 61.
This one here is Dick
Number
Hammond's
12
car.
is this car.
And this one here, they styled the grille after the Cord 810,
You have their number
and they
2.
styled the headlights after the classic Imperials of the 1931 through 33 era.
Number 12 is Dick and Marlis.
Yes, it is. And boy, that sure is a dramatic front end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what it's trying to express, but it's doing it very eloquently. But you'll never read a magazine review that says anything nice about that front end. They always say something bad about it.
You're kidding.
No, terrible. I've never seen a single positive review.
I wonder why.
I don't know. It's just they dared to be different,
Mm.
so that I'm pointing out the fact that the Eagle is asymmetric. The other car that was asymmetric was a 1961 Dodge Polara. Had an asymmetrical hood ornament. It was off to the same side, only on top of the hood there. Okay. Now the power brake booster off to the middle up center of the car. They had two types. That one there was the darn it, I think that's the Bendix, and the Bellows type is the Kelsey Hayes. Yes, it is.
This is the next car.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It's hard to say. I wish I zoomed out more. Judging from, yeah, that tube there, that shows that that's Dick and Marlis's car. That's a 61. Now this is the rear window on a 1961 four-door hardtop. Yes, this is Brandy's again, the 61 four-door hardtop. Yeah, it has those accessory stainless steel pieces above the windows. And see how the back window is. It wraps around the side as opposed to that black LeBaron that we saw a little while ago, the 60 LeBaron with the little tiny leaded-in back window. So see the stylized gold eagle there on the fender. Notice how the hubcaps are very deeply dished. As I was mentioning earlier on the tape, they're intentionally there's two hubcaps, inside and outside. The inside one keeps the outside one standing away from the wheel, and people are always telling me, "Uh-oh, your hubcap's about to fall off."
Well, that was done for brake ventilation.
That and
Yeah.
for style. It makes it look very deeply dished. Now this hubcap is very unique. That's a 61 LeBaron only. And so see the ring that rotates around, that orbits. Now evidently they're saying that there's only 41 still in existence, of which 5 are in California. Now that right there is very important. That is a cloisonné pin right there that says Coachwork by LeBaron Coachwork. The reason why that's pointed out, that the 61 through I believe 63 LeBaron, since they had that little cloisonné work, they were the only cars ever sold that had a jewelry tax because of that. So that they always had an extra cost in there.
61 through 63?
I believe on the LeBarons only. And so then again, this is the inside of that 61 LeBaron with the swivel seats and beautiful, beautiful leather on this car. Gosh, I wish that car was mine. And again, there's that Eagle.
There's
That's
the
the first.
Eagle.
That's the first year of the Imperial Eagle. That trim is entirely unique to the 61s, but the trunk lid itself is the same for all 4 years, from 60 to 64. That's a 62 with the 61 trunk lid.
Which is the 62?
This car is a 62. This is Don Paxton's 62
Oh.
convertible, and he has the 61.
But not
trim.
the 64. The 64 had a different trunk lid.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Very different. It's a beautiful car. Yeah, with those wonderful flashlight taillights. Okay, there's another 62, another 62, another 62. Very popular year. These are Crown four-door hardtops. You can tell from the back wraparound back window. The LeBaron, of course, had the smaller back window. But for 62 and 63, the LeBaron's smaller back window was not leaded in. It was a natural body style that they did. It wasn't a customized crown. Okay, that's a Jiffy Jet windshield washer bag. I like to show that because it's not often that you see an original one still underneath the hood. Of course, that big old silenced air cleaner. There's the Kelsey Hayes brake booster right there up at the top. Of course, the autopilot. Now this must be a 1960, because I believe 60 had that big canister for the vacuum up above, and I believe in 61 they had it down below.
That autopilot was something. I don't think it ever worked very long.
Yeah, or very.
Or very accurately.
Yes. But you consider that I believe Chrysler Corporation was the first one with that. Just as they were with the first ones with the swiveling bucket seats, which was repeated by General Motors on the Monte Carlo in the early 1970s. And that's an automatically dimming headlight. I mean, rear view mirror. See the little electric eye there above the. That causes it to automatically dim. It looks out the back window. It's got one big vacuum tube inside of it. It's a very thick rear view mirror. And now, of course, Cadillacs and Lincolns offer that same sort of option, only it's done electronically. Now this here, this roof line here, I believe this is a 57 or 58 or 59. And notice that they even put 2 levels of the rear package shelf just for pure style. And boy, this is a very, very pronounced flight sweep deck lid. This is almost a perfect copy of the show car flight sweep deck lids.
This is a 50 what?
This is a 57 through 59, I'm not sure, I can't tell. It probably is a 50, judging from this, it's a 57 or 58 because it has the thick ring right there with the big crown on it. I could be wrong. Yeah, because see the pale blue one over there has the narrow rings. So perhaps it's a 59, I'm not
It's
sure.
too bad we don't have the owner that comes out and says it's my car.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, again, those gold crowns that keep cropping up, as I said earlier. Now, this is definitely a 59 LeBaron that we're looking at, because It has that particular type of hubcap, and it's gold on the inside of the where the teeth are. That was only 59, only on the LeBaron.
So it could be Charles Monadero's or the Sphinx.
It's Charles
Monodero
Monadero's.
Because his is black.
That's right. That's a LeBaron. 59.
And Chuck was the one responsible for all the trophies, getting the
Oh,
trophies.
beautiful job on
Yeah,
it.
so we have to give him a special thanks.
It's funny though, Chrysler Corporation chipped in $1,000 for those trophies to help pay for them. And when we then contacted, when other clubs tried to contact the same people, this is definitely a 59 Crown Series. See, it doesn't have the gold, it has the silver. But when we tried to contact the same people, they disavowed any knowledge of, $1,000. I guess they kind of got panicked that all the Chrysler clubs would start asking for money.
Is that right?
Oh, yes.
Because we gave them recognition in the newsletter.
Yeah. Well, they disavowed it as fast as they could.
Isn't that funny?
Now, this is, I believe, a 59 dash. I'm not sure. But notice, I believe I'll focus in closely. Notice that there's no turn signal lever. What they did, they thought that they'd be clever and have a push
Oh,
button.
yeah, there's
Chuck in the back
Yeah.
with his car. So this car has the power door locks and the power window and the manual wing window.
I believe 50 or 51, they already had power windows, didn't they?
Oh, you could go get power windows much earlier than that. I think Chrysler Corporation, I think you could get hydraulic ones on the Crown Series back as early as 41. The electrical ones were in the early 50s. Now these swivel seats here, again, oh okay, I guess we closed it, but the swivel bucket seats were only offered from 1959 to 61. And for a very brief period in 1960, you could, when you opened up the door, the seats would automatically swivel, and when you closed the door, they'd automatically retract. But Chrysler Corporation got surprised when they found out that in accidents, the doors would fly open and the seats would jam to the side so fast you'd lose control. So they changed that in a hurry. But look at that beautiful roof line there. Remember where I said how fancy the low car roof lines were? Yep, there's my beautiful assistant. He's carting that
Carting that battery around.
That's right. And a good job he did too. There's all the equipment that I was using. And if I showed all the orange extension cord, people were walking around it all over the parking lot. Okay, there's those. Look at that incredibly massive grill. That's all one cast piece, I believe. That takes a lot of chrome.
Now that's the what, the 55?
That's a 59.
59.
Yes, 59 only had that grill.
And that's the first wedge head engine
That's
too, isn't
correct.
it? 59.
That's right. All up to then they had the Hemi from 51 through 1958 on the Imperials. Main reason why they discontinued the Hemi is because first of all, it was much more expensive to build, but it was very misunderstood. Now this one here, I believe, is a 57 four-door sedan. Who would that be?
There are two 57s, Greg and Kim Brewer, and Terry and Patty Brister.
Okay.
So they were two 1957 Crown four-doors.
Okay, because this one, I'm not sure. It's either 57 or
You say those had curved windows?
Yeah. Oh no. See, on
That
this
doesn't
is
look
a
curved.
four-door sedan. On the hard tops, it was curved.
Oh.
On these, I'm not sure. On the sedan, I'm not sure. They had the aluminum frames, which were really a mess to align. You had to bend them with wood blocks in order to make them fit properly. Now, I believe these are curved. I could be wrong.
How about, is that the rear deck?
Yeah, that's the optional rear trunk lid. A lot of people ordered that trunk lid, but also a lot of collectors have added them from other cars. Because
There's in such demand, as I said, they were always asking for these toilet seats.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
they add a lot of pizzazz to the rear end of a car. Yeah, it is a beautiful rear end treatment on that.
The trunk space sacrifices, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, the reason why is because they wanted to make the fins look taller. That's why they lowered the rear trunk lines. So this front end, I can never tell the difference between the 58s and the 50. I believe this is another, okay, that's that way, the crossbars. I think these are both of the 57s, and then later on I show a 58 limo, so you can see the difference in the grille. So let's take a look at the, it's a four-door hardtop with the curved side glass.
Now, is that a 57?
I'm not sure.
Let's take a look at the front here.
Oh, that's a 59. No, that's a 57. 57.
57.
Yeah.
I know,
And then the
but
50, yeah, that's in very
but
good
I
condition.
think this
Now, you were
year is
saying
different.
that you would like to see a 57 with the single headlight.
That's correct. So you can see how the double headlights are so different. There's the hubcap. Now, I'm not sure if that's the proper hubcap for that year. I'm not sure. There's the 59 again. This is Chuck's. I know I'm focusing in on something, but I can't think what.
The sphere.
Yeah, I guess the side sweeps for. Oh, I know what. It's got a little teeth. It's got teeth in it, and I could never figure out why they did that. I think that's only on the LeBaron. I could be wrong. The power window switches, and I believe I did show. Yeah, right there. That lever, you flip back and forth for your turn indicator. That didn't last very long. I think they only did that 57 through 59. And I think it was push button in 60, and then they just went back to the lever in 61. Normally, on the swivel seats on the 60s, on the early model 60s, there was a big tall leaf spring in the door jamb there that controlled the pressure on releasing the swivel seat. Of course, the push button transmission.
How many years did they have the push button transmission?
From 1956 until 1964. That was the last year. And it was very dependable. The only reason why they got rid of the push buttons is because Chrysler Corporation was tired of being known as being the ones with the wacky stuff, like the rectangular steering wheels and the swivel seats and the push button transmissions. And also Ford Corporation got everybody in trouble because of their poor design of their transmission shifting. With the lever, the people were accidentally driving through the garage walls because of the poor design of the shifting. So it was government mandated that everybody had to switch to the PRNDL type of shifting starting in 1965. There was never a problem with the push buttons. They were always very dependable.
That push button model, 57.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, old blue was a 57, wasn't it?
Okay, these booklets here are very rare. That's number 110, session 110. I have almost the entire session. I mean, the entire set from 1946 to around 1962. Those booklets came from Chrysler Corporation. They're very rare. Remember that crown again? There it is again, the exact same piece. They did it from 55 to 63, and I keep showing it.
Well, don't you think we could get those through the Chrysler archives? I have an address to...
I just bought 6 brand new ones. Oh, that's a thought. That's a thought. Now, this is a very rare car. This is a 1956 Southampton. It's a 4-door hardtop, meaning that when you roll the windows down, there's no frame around the windows when you open up the door. This was the first year. They only made them for around 6 months, and in a few moments he's going to come out and demonstrate how the back window goes up, and it's very unique. Very, very, very unique. Here he comes. This guy was great to talk to. He's very active.
Is this the owner of the 50s? Is
That's
this
right.
Ray Moore?
I don't know. I'm not sure what the name is, but take a look at
Yes,
how
this is
the back
Ray
window
Moore.
goes. Zink! Isn't that
Look at
bizarre?
He has,
That's scissors action.
he has the name tag on there, it's new.
Yeah.
Huh,
Isn't that amazing?
that's amazing.
Yeah, and so then of course they changed that in 57, so this was a very, very rare body style. Now Southampton,
Southampton.
right, but they started calling Imperial hardtops, whether it was 2-door or 4-door, again that gold crown. They called them Southampton starting in 56, Newports up to 1955, and people say, oh, I have a Southampton. All that means is that it's a hardtop as opposed to a sedan. And so Southampton was not something that was ever on the body.
Mm-hmm.
This is the interior, of course, of I believe this is the 56 Southampton. That's a great car. Black really sets off all that chrome on the outside, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. Very hard to get the right lighting with that much chrome and that much. Now, of course, this was the first year of the push buttons, and that one that's a later model because it has the 5 push buttons. That means it's got the torque flight transmission. If it only had 4, then that meant it still had the 2-speed power flight. There's a very nice looking spare tire in there. I'm not sure if it's an original or not. Now that wood block was given to all Imperial owners, but a lot of people have lost them. But that's a Mopar wood block, and Gary Gores has reproduced those. That's where the gas filler door is. You push in the reflector, and it
So
flips
what
open.
did the wood block do? Block
That was
block
for-
the
that
car
was
if you
for
had
while-
to change a tire?
That's exactly correct. Isn't that wonderful?
These cars should all run on regular fuel today, too, because their compression is fairly low.
That's right. They engineered them to run on regular gas. But remember, regular gas back then had a higher octane than it does now. Nowadays, it's mostly garbage. So then, that's a Kelsey Hayes. Here we go. A Kelsey Hayes wire wheels and Kelsey Hayes brake booster there. So then, again, you can tell that this is a 55. I believe this is John & John's. There's that ever-present gold crown again, the exact same piece. And this is on the C-pillar, as they call it, on the sail panel, as they also call it, on the rear part of the side of the roof. Now, this has the rear air conditioning unit. There's the scoops. And so those were painted. I've seen them chromed, but they were never originally chromed. But it's still very attractive in any case. It's a way to spot an extra cost car. Now this car
This was the best of show, wasn't it?
sure was. It's won best of show many times.
Well, these are the 2 Johns
That's right.
from Southern California.
Mhm.
Yeah. 55, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They like the 55s a lot better than they like the 56s.
John Lloyd and John McClay.
Mm-hmm. And
They always win first prize for everything, and they're such
Do they?
perfectionists.
oh yes, and they take the time. They're my heroes. Well, there's the gas filler door there. Now I'm kind of being tentative about it because neither one of them was around, and I was fiddling around with their car. But I think they'll forgive me since I'm very careful with their car.
It was a beauty.
Mm-hmm. Now this is a 1963. You can tell because that's the only year that it didn't have the Sparrow strainers with that particular body style. And of course, this is identical to the 1960 trunk lid, even to the trim.
By 63, then, they gotten rid of the flared high fenders.
Yes, matter of fact, in 1961 was the last year of the big tail fins. The biggest tail fins. By the way, the tail fins on the 1960 are exactly as tall as those on the 1959 Cadillac. There's a reason for that. Because 1948, Cadillac had the first tail fins. And Chrysler Corporation started adding them in 56 and really came out with extraordinary tail fins in 1957. The people at General Motors figured that they'd outdo that, so for 59 they came out with the outrageous Cadillac tail fins. And Chrysler Corporation said, well, we'll outdo those, and came out with the 61, which had the outrageous headlights and the bizarre taillights dangling like earrings below. Now here's some more 55s, you can tell from the rounded fender. Now this is the original car, I believe. That's the one that is the two-tone blue that is all original paint and original interior. And a very, very nice car, very solid.
Maybe we made a mistake in turning that 55 sedan down. But he wanted an awful lot of money for it, and the chroming was just terrible. Chrome was really gone.
Now
Pitted.
this one here I'm having trouble figuring out. Since it's got the divided back window, that black one had to be about a 51 through 53. That black sedan. There was a 53 sedan.
52.
52.
Oh, okay.
And then we had 50.
Reverend Robert
Oh, this is that.
This is a very, very rare car. This is a 1957 Imperial Ghia limousine. 58. You can tell from the grille. See how it's divided up into separate pieces like that as opposed to being egg crate.
That was that large limo that we saw at the show. It wasn't entered in the show.
Right. This is about 6,000 pounds of car. At least 400 pounds of that is lead from all the body work. Those doors are all made of aluminum, and they're custom made. They spent 18 hours on each door to make it fit properly.
Wow.
These were the body work was done in Turin, Italy at the Ghia factory. And I have many factory photos of the process of building these. They took a coupe body on a convertible frame, since the convertible was a stronger frame, and shipped it over to the over to Italy, and then they chopped it and lengthened it, and added many custom features to it in terms of bodywork, all the leading, but also in terms of, for instance, you could get two air conditioners. Go ahead.
Yeah, look at the rear bumper. I haven't seen that on anything else.
That's I'm not sure. I believe that's the standard 58 bumper. I'm not sure. Now this was I believe a 55 or 56 Cadillac limo that was around. Yeah, I figured that was worth showing. You know, one limo versus another. They did not belong to the same person. That's a 56 coupe in the back, Southampton. Now in this one here, though, that it had sheepskin carpeting not only inside the car but also in the trunk. Mouton, specially treated sheared lambskin. And again, the crown. This is on the front windshield garnish molding. That was unique to the limo. They did not do it on the LeBaron series. They did it on the Crown series, because Crown always meant limousines for Imperials for all those years, all the way back. And see, it says Crown there. That little word Crown there on the word Imperial is unique to the limousine. And I'm not sure, but it seems to be missing the little Gia ornaments now. They might have only added those in 1959, I believe. Now these cars, none of these were entered in the show, but they were parked off to the side.
Well, Tony, what year did the LeBaron then trademark transcend the Crown in value or in finish, in extra? Because the LeBaron now is thought to be a more expensive or a more complete automobile than a Crown.
That was true even when they began the LeBaron body style, which was in 1957. The only exception to that was the Gia limousines, which were the Crown series. But there were three series from 1957 through 1963. There was the Custom series, which was the least expensive series. You could get crank-up windows, and you could get manual seats and less expensive cloth interiors. Or you had the Middle series, which was the Crown series, which was more complete in terms of options, standard options, and you could get a leather interior. And then you had the LeBaron series, which had almost all factory options and quite a few dealer options, as a matter of fact, plus more soundproofing underneath all the chrome pieces. Say, like on a 61 LeBaron, this is a 63 LeBaron with the smaller back window. That's a 64 Crown four-door hardtop. If you remove the chrome trim off of a 61 LeBaron, it's got black rubbery gunk underneath it that the other series don't have. And so then, I never did figure out why they still maintained Crown for the LeBaron, for the limousine series, but I'm sure they had the reasons.
And the only difference here between the 60 in the front, the 64 and 65, the 65 has the etched glass covers.
That's correct.
Over the double headlights.
That's correct. And this is the standard trunk light on the 63. I'm not sure. Again, take a look at the difference between that rear end and the one that we were just looking at, the one without the toilet seat on the trunk lid. There's only 1 year difference between this one and this one and that one. It's a major difference. But the rear end, as I said, on the 63s was designed by the same guy who designed the entire car.
Well,
on the
they
64.
They copied the Continental, and that's known as the Continental kit there, isn't it?
That's correct. But it was designed by the same guy who designed the 61 Lincoln, so I'm not surprised that he did that. I guess that was their way of retaining the toilet seat trunk lid thought. But that's a red 64. Wondering if I ran out of tape. Oh, here we go. Okay, so then this is the interior of the Gia limousine. That's the hand woven leather pole for the inside of the Gia. So then there's the special inside lights. Okay, step pad, garnish plate, I guess you'd say. Very dark. So these are the jump seats, that right there with the handle, and if I recall, he's going to step in and open it up. I'm not sure what the wood blocks are. I think the parking brake is no good. I know that problem. I know that problem. That's a clock up there by his hand for the rear seat. So when you pull this open, and this is the rear jump seat.
That's the jump seat.
Mm-hmm.
This is on the limousine?
That's correct, on the 58 Kia.
Did they have the internal expanding safety or the handbrake back of the transmission on these cars?
Oh yes, they did. Yes, but his brake shoes needed to be.
When did they go to the rear wheel brakes for the?
I believe that the last year that you could get that was 62. I'm not sure. I think 63 was the beginning of the rear brake with the cables. I mean, through the normal procedure as opposed to the on the drive shaft. So then that's interesting. That's got a crown on the overhead light. I believe that's the same as the side inside lights on other models. And you'll notice that that's got the divider window there to the left. Now there's where the doors go up into the roof, so that when you open it up, then there's more room for people with top hats to get into the car. Okay, the back seat is broadcloth, and the front seat is black leather, which is very, very common for limousines. This was very standard procedure. I have no idea why. So then you can't see it because of the darkness of the image, but there's individual controls for the heater. There's 2 heaters in the car, and there's, of course, extra lighters. There's usually another radio in the back, and the controls are underneath that flap there, usually.
I talked to an Englishman one time about that, and a gentleman and a fine lady felt that cloth was much more comfortable, much more desirable than leather. The leather was more serviceable, so they had the servicemen and the lackeys sit on leather because it lasted longer.
Of course, there's the leather seating, and of course the dashboard. This looks like it's been redone, and can't be sure, but I believe it's got the manual vent windows. I'm not sure. Yes, it is.
Because we had leather.
Yes. Remember, leather was just another material. Okay, there's the gentleman who owns the car. And as I told him that cars like his are very, very likely to be stolen, so I warned him to keep a cane lock on the steering wheel.
Is that right?
Oh, yes. Because I've had 2 cars stolen recently, and you know, the ones with tail fins, the more desirable ones, are the ones that are going overseas. So notice how on the Imperial script it leans to the left. Well, another year later it might be leaning off to the right. They changed it from year to year. Now normally that big silver expanse, which has been painted silver, originally it was covered in leather, but it looks very nice painted in the silver. Now this is the front of Charlene's
from the Sacramento Club.
Quinn. Charlene Quinn's
Quinn.
65 Imperial convertible, and it has the stripes in the glass. You can just barely see them. And boy, this is a very fancy car. It's a very deep, rich blue metallic, and a nice pearlescent white leather interior. Now these were what they called airplane style. This is the interior. Now this is of course a 65, so it's got the wood on the bottom half of the dashboard. Never mind. The large fiberglass boots on this car are very notable. This is Ken Woods' 65 convertible. The very nice dashboard as well. This car consistently wins trophies.
What year is this?
65. It's got the headrests. Now, as I was saying, these fiberglass boots on the side here, so you can see it's got a gold interior, and those eagles on the back, I've been trying to find these boots. These were from 1964 to 66, and they're very, very, very flashy, so that the 2 side pieces are hard, And the center part is the soft vinyl, and that's to cover up the convertible top. That's it. And let me see what else. Okay, the rear end of a 19, I believe that's, yeah, that's Charlene's car, so that's a 65. She's got the wide whites on it. Technically, they stopped the wide whites after 1961, but the cars look awfully good with them on there. Yeah, 1961, they were 2 1/4 inch wide whites. In 1962, they went way down to about 1 1/2 inch, if that, probably less than that. See how the stripes in the glass on the 65s are exactly the same stripes as in the grille. They match. They did that on purpose. But notice that the area directly in front of the headlight itself is clear because many states would not allow the light to be blocked off at all. Belongs to Jim and Donna Pierce. They spent a lot of time on that car. They, just a moment, it's still not unpausing. Okay, and they've done a beautiful job of repainting it and rechroming it and redoing the vinyl roof, and just really did a bang-up job of, pardon the phrase, of restoring the car, and they consistently win trophies with this car as well.
65?
65.
Yeah, Jim and Donna are from San Diego, so and
yeah, and he's
they've
very,
done-
very aggressive about adding new people to the club, too. Sorry.
that's nice. We talk about members that are enthusiastic.
Oh, yes. This car is extremely well equipped. Look at that beautiful roofline. The coupe is so fine this year. They wanted the coupe, the reason why they designed the coupe the way that they did for 64 especially, and 65 and 66, is they wanted to compete with the Riviera, the way that they advertised the Crown Coupe as being the personal luxury car. They, even though it was 6-passenger, they had bucket seats in the front, and they had the headrests, and they had the look in the back of the seat. I mean, in the back seat, it always looked like it had just enough room for 2 people. Of course, now look at that 66 hubcap. You'll notice where the filler hole is on the hubcap. We'll be covering that more again. Again, this is a 66 grill. This is the egg crate grill. And again, the gold rings around the glass. Okay, again, the rear lights on the 66 have... Who's that?
That's Nancy Bass, yes. And Ralph was her husband. Nancy was the one that took charge of driving the women to downtown Napa.
Yes.
So we have to give her a lot of, thank her for everything.
And she was just raving about how nice it was, too.
And Ralph was in charge of taking us to the Jack London Park the next day, and he gave us a nice tour. We enjoyed that very much on that Sunday.
Now in 66, of course, they didn't have the push-button transmission. They had the shift lever. So on the far left side of the dashboard, next to the speedometer, there's a sentry light that would turn on in case you needed to look at any of your gauges. Boy, that sure is a nice-looking car. See it there? That's a sentry signal light on the far left at the top. This car has the power door lock, the power vent windows.
Isn't this a series or year models that had such a terrible time replacing the door springs?
Yes, because they broke commonly. Same with the trunk.
I think I got some instructions from the president of the Sacramento Club, and it appeared in the Northern California Imperial Owners Quarterly Bulletin one time.
See where the filler hole is on the hubcap?
Yeah.
And so this is a 66, and then later on, that's a 67, I believe.
Oh, this is where it is on mine, on the 69.
Right.
Out there.
I didn't know that, but that's about the only difference between the two. So that, of course, is a 67. It has the front parking lights. It's a 68 because it has the side marker lights in the bumper. So the cars had started to drive off. Now that the judging was done, people just wanted to move the cars, go enjoy the local scenery. And I was starting to wind out of energy myself, and so was poor.
Well, the way you're
Dennis.
going today, it doesn't seem like you ever get out of energy.
The other two. So that's it for that tape. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.